If you're constantly busy, but you don't feel like your business is moving forward, this video is gonna be for you. Over the next 10 to 15 minutes, I'm gonna walk and talk you through the 3 profit levers that you need so you can make more money, you can work with great clients, and you can build a business that complements the life that you now wanna lead. Let's head over to the whiteboard and let me show you how. Before we do that, I'm gonna put a log on the barbie because it is freezing, it's super, super cold. I don't think we've ever put the fire on at 11 a.m. before, but needs must. And when you get to a certain level in your business, you start to secretly question, how much more am I willing to compromise and sacrifice? Because you feel as though that the only answer and the only solution is more. And the truth is, you don't have a motivation problem, an energy problem, or an effort problem. You have a business model problem. And that's the thing that we need to fix. So let's have a look at the 3 profit levers that you need. The first one is the most important. It's you. And we call this the high performance operating system. Because ultimately, you're the founder, you're the leader, you're the very person that makes shit happen. And the fulfillment, the love, the fun, the enjoyment that you now have is going to determine how far this business can go. So the 3 considerations that we need to make. Number 1 is your energy. Your business ambition will always be limited to the amount of energy that you have to give to it. And as the business grows, it can be so easy for you to feel like Buckaroo. You're firefighting constantly, you're always on. Every single decision, every single piece of the business runs through you. And without now knowing, you're starting to build and create something that starts to feel heavy, it starts to feel hard, you're starting to compromise and sacrifice things that are really important to you. And then you reach a certain point and then you're starting to secretly resent the very thing you've created, and you're starting to think, how can I continue to progress and grow? Even though that's in your DNA, that's something that you want to be able to do, but your energy and the desire that you now have to continue to push becomes limited. We now want to make sure that your energy is at the forefront of everything. That's the heartbeat of the company. And people don't buy into your content, they don't buy into your offer, they don't buy into your lead magnets, they don't buy into your community, they buy into the magnetism of you. People buy from people that they like, and they buy from people before they buy into anything else. So we need to make sure that you're firing on all cylinders, because that's going to be the feeling that isn't a marketing strategy but can't be replicated anywhere else. Number 2, we've got wealth or money. You often have 2 camps. You have camp A, where you just have all these people that are just like chase as much cash as humanly possible. It's like, can I get to the next level, next level, next level? And they don't really care how they get there. It's just, how can I grow? And then you have the other side where you love what you do and you almost end up then undervaluing, undercharging, and you don't really necessarily allow yourself to maximize the profitability, because there's almost a level of guilt and shame associated with growing a company, working with people, and actually making more money through the skills, because you started this from literally zero and you had it as a hobby, first and foremost. We want to make sure that wealth and money becomes a vehicle. It creates opportunity. Our goal is to create financial independence, so you have choice. You can create the experiences, have the options that give you speed, that remove friction, so you have zero stress. And for every single individual, that's going to look incredibly different. So it's about gaining clarity around what that specifically looks like for you, most importantly. And then number 3, we've got lifestyle. I don't know about you, but I'm not here to exit a business. I'm not here to sell a business. I'm here to build and create something that's going to continue to work and it's going to continue to grow, and it's going to continue to evolve with me. And my life changed when I stopped playing the tug of war game, where my life was over here and my business was over here, and it was like I was always having to flip-flop between the 2, and I was choosing one or the other. And I was operating from this space and place of like, I need better work-life balance. Then what ends up happening is they're just fighting for attention. Instead of looking at how can I create something that gives me integration? How can they complement one another? And when you do that and you build something that's an extension of you, that's when you have longevity, sustainability, you have better energy, you have more creativity. So we need to think, like, what does my perfect week look like? What does my perfect day look like? What will give me more life satisfaction right now? What would I want to do more of? What would I now want to do less of? And how can I make sure that I reverse engineer my business around my life, not the other way around? So we need to make sure that you're building the right operating system as the founder and as the leader. Otherwise you get to a certain point and then you start to question how much further it is that you now want to go. Okay, number 2, we've got the who. The who is what we call magnetic marketing. One of the biggest pieces that people don't really talk about is, who are you partnering alongside? Who are you working alongside? Because so many coaches never get the opportunity to build a business with great fit clients. And what ends up happening is you just apply these tactics and strategies to try and scale through volume with lead generation. And then you end up just bringing a whole host of people into your world that don't necessarily fit, don't necessarily align to you. And you can hire the team and you can delegate, but then you find yourself in a place where you're just passing down problems. So we need to make sure that we're really clear around, like, who am I excited to help? What problems am I really passionate about solving? Who am I really looking forward to partnering alongside? And I want you to think about your very best client that you've ever worked with, and I want you to think about the worst client that you've ever worked with. Worst client, heavy, hard, like an uphill battle. It feels like it takes your soul, takes so much of your energy, and it makes you question, doubt absolutely everything. Best client, fun, light, easy, enjoyable, great results. They refer like crazy. They become the heartbeat of your business, and you have this phenomenal partnership. If we can now have another 10, 20, 50, 100, 200 of those incredible people, what would that now do for the fun, the fulfillment, the love, the impact that you could then really go and have? And the reality is, your story isn't for everybody, but for the right person, it'll be absolutely everything. So we need to first and foremost make sure that we can now position ourselves as an authority by getting really, really clear around you, your backstory, your journey, building that personal brand, starting to articulate our message in a way that can convey our perfect fit clients' problems better than they can explain it themselves. So they think, that's it, that's right, that's me. Your goal isn't to try and speak to the masses, it's to try and whisper in their ear. And the reality is, a lot of your market aren't necessarily going to understand. And a really key piece with this is, as your business grows and evolves, and as you grow and evolve, so will your marketing and messaging. And you will outgrow parts of your business. You will outgrow people that you maybe potentially have worked with. And if you don't upgrade that, you then find yourself in a place where you're tolerating problems, which ultimately then comes back down to, once again, limiting you and how far you can go and what it is that you know that you have the potential to do. Which ties in to making sure that we have really strong messaging. There's a big difference between what does the market want me to say, or what do I feel like I need to talk about, in comparison to what am I excited about, what am I passionate about, what are the things that only I can say based upon my lessons, my stories, my experiences that I've now been through, which then also ties into being able to create this simple lead flow. There's a big difference between trying to push people into your world and trying to pull people into your world. And we want to make sure that this stuff does the heavy lifting so sales becomes easy. And a really key piece of this puzzle is recognizing and appreciating that actually this is almost like the beginning of your delivery. It's almost like your onboarding experience. Because if this stuff is really, really good, you're really clear around who you want to help, how you want to help them, and you're radiating that message, providing the value, and conveying and telling stories that creates that level of relevance and relatability. When they come into your world, they're already ready, they're good to go. Whereas when you're trying to push people into your world, it feels clunky, it feels hard, they churn at a far quicker rate, and then you're starting to think, I've got a delivery problem, or I've got a coaching issue, or I've got a retention bottleneck. And that might be the case, but often what I typically see is we need to go upstream, we need to go, right, okay, how are we actually bringing these customers into our world? Because if you could double your retention, you would double your business. So magnetic marketing, how can we make sure that you now operate from a place of one, nobody can copy and replicate you, and it's also really clear around exactly who it is that you want to partner alongside and the caliber of client that you want to be able to help, because they're the things that you're most passionate about that really excite you. And last but not least, we've got the how. Super simple for me. You, who, how. Freedom, business, model. And a lot of people don't really think about this because it can often be like, this is just the model that I need to follow because that's what I've been told that I need to do, or that's what I think that I should do. But ultimately, your business model and the delivery model that you operate from needs to match the perfect fit client, who it is you want to be able to speak to, who it is you want to be able to partner alongside. How can you ensure that you're going to be delivering the very best quality experience, results, culture and community for them based upon what it is that they're now currently looking for? Different people, different needs, different goals, and different ways of working and operating. And we also need to make sure that it matches the you. You can be spending all your time in areas of the business that you don't necessarily enjoy, and you might be making money go up, but if it doesn't align to the life that you want to live, where you want to be spending your time each and every day and each and every week, and it doesn't light you up in terms of energy, well, again, you're going to get to a glass ceiling that you're going to bump up against, and you're not going to want to grow past it. You're just going to keep growing into pain. And to give you a couple of great examples around this, we had the incredible Dara that joined us around 18 months ago, and he'd reached a point where he was working with 40 one-to-one clients. His athletic career was super important to him, and that was the main priority. But he knew that he was comfortable, he knew that he was coasting, he had an abundance of opportunity to grow the business, but didn't know how without just compromising even more of his training, his performance, his recovery. And what we were able to do was pull him from 40 to 20 clients. We're able to install a group model, and he's now been able to go from working with 40 clients to 20 clients on a one-to-one level, and he's now installed a multi-offer system, which means he's working with over 250 clients. We've installed the right team and the right systems, and he's been able to 4x his revenue whilst still being able to work in exactly the same way. He's built a phenomenal brand, built a great community, community, and he's now growing something that has got the capacity to continue to increase without him sacrificing the things that are most important to him. We have the incredible Nick. Nick came to me with a fantastic business. He was working with 60 to 70 clients on a one-to-one level. He got great results. He had great retention. The biggest bottleneck was Nick was the bottleneck. He was burnt out. He was just about to become a dad, and he was petrified of not being able to be present and be engaged and be the dad that he wanted to be because he was so stuck in the business. So over the last 12 to 18 months, we've been able to pull Nick away from the business. We've been able to install 2 full-time coaches to take over the delivery. Nick now coaches 5 to 10 clients that he loves. He spends his time leading the team, spends the rest of his time marketing, and then spends the rest of the time, well, he's been able to get into the shape of his life, run marathons, and he's also now being able to spend way more time being present as a dad. Or we have the phenomenal Phil. When Phil came to me, he was running 70 to 80 calls every single month. He'd get to a Wednesday and he'd need to go and lie down for the entirety of the day because he was absolutely knackered from the amount of delivery that he had to do. And Phil loves coaching. He loves his craft. He wants to spend all his time with his clients, delivering on the expertise and the knowledge and the wisdom that he has. He didn't want to grow this big, monumental, massive team. He didn't want to have all of these clients. He wanted to work with a lower number of clients at a higher level. So he shifted and changed the delivery system, the way in which Phil was communicating with clients. He pulled down the number of clients he worked with. He increased the price point significantly. And Phil is now being able to, well, go from 70 calls per month to 3 calls per month. He's been able to over double his revenue, and he's been able to just protect and keep the feel, the relationships, and the things that were most important to him because he didn't want to add this level of complexity. He wanted to stay in his field of genius, which was him coaching. So there are so many different ways that you can grow a business with different models, different offers, and it's appreciating that there's no one best way. We need to figure out you as the founder, like what really lights you up, what really excites you, and what really allows you to serve these people to the best of your ability so that you can continue to grow into more freedom and not friction. Number 2, we've got the team. This is simply how can I delegate myself out of the stuff that I hate and delegate myself into the stuff that I now love. It can be so easy to join a mentorship or follow somebody else that's been incredibly successful and they tell you need to pull yourself out of delivery, or you need to pull yourself out of sales, or you need to pull yourself out of whatever area. But we've got to actually really think about like, what's the stuff that I love? What's the stuff that lights me up? Like one of my biggest passions has been coaching and creating. I never want to pull myself out of the coaching side because actually that's the thing that I love the most. And last year, I found myself in a place where I was doing less coaching. I was spending more time like managing and kind of leading the team. And I've really felt as though that I lost my edge. I was building something that felt heavy, wasn't giving me what I really wanted to. So I had to make some changes. And although that absolutely is a way that you can grow, it's like what really protects your energy. And whatever gives you energy, whatever lights you up, that's going to be the stuff that's going to give you the longevity. And also it's going to be able to help you make even more money because, well, you're going to have a greater desire and readiness to want to continue to push. And finally, we've got the systems. I look at this as save yourself time, effort, money, and stress. This is about starting to unpack your IP. What can we record, not repeat? What are all the things that you're having to do continuously over and over and over and over again that we can install the right system so that you can pull yourself out, we can create leverage, we can create space, and we can ensure that you can spend all of your time doing the things that you're great at, and all of the stuff that is repeatable can be something that we can now create, which means that you never have to worry about. So the delivery model and how you're building the freedom business so often isn't just built upon like, how hard can I work? How can I grow? What do I need to do more of? It's like, what can I do simpler? What can I do better? Like, how do I want my business to look? If this was light, fun, easy, what would be the changes that I would make? What do I love? What do I hate? So if we analyze and review, a few key questions for you to be able to ask yourself. How do I want to live? What would my perfect week now look like? Where do I want to be spending my time, effort, and energy? Number 2, who do I want to partner alongside? How many clients do I really want to be able to serve, and in what capacity? What feels really good to me? Number 3, how do I want my business to look? Do I want big team, small team? Do I want to spend more time coaching, not coaching? Like, how am I crafting and creating something that really starts to work for you, most importantly, and matches and honors these people? And number 4, does that align to the money that you want to be able to make? Because if any one of these is now off, all you're ever doing is growing into more friction, which means that you're going to hit a bottleneck, and then the only answer is, I just need to keep pushing, which isn't the answer. We need a better strategy, a different way of operating, an acknowledgement of realizing that for you to be able to build your business, you've got to be able to craft it your way. Right now, if you're in a place where you're doing well, you're successful, but stuck, and you know that you've got another level in you, but growing feels heavy and hard, and like you're having to compromise and sacrifice what's most important to you, and every single part of the business comes through you, and you want to find out how you can install the Freedom Business Method into your world so you can make more profit, you can work with great clients, and you can build a business that gives you more life and not less. Click the link in the description below and book yourself in for your Freedom Business Growth Plan call. On that call, we'll sit down and we'll unpack where you are right now, where you would love to be, the biggest limiting factors that you're currently bumping up against that are stopping you from being able to access the next level of revenue, and we'll then give you a game plan and a strategy that you can walk away with so you have more clarity than ever. If you want in, hit the link below and I'll see you there.